The Jets need offensive line help. We're sitting at pick number 10. There are a ton of really good offensive linemen coming out in this year's draft. I want to take a look at the top 6, how they performed at the Combine, and give you guys my rankings. Jets! All right, I'm really excited to talk about this. Offensive tackles at the Combine, they absolutely blew up the Combine this year. There's so many really good offensive linemen, particularly at the tackle position. Thank God, because the Jets need offensive tackle in the worst way. So I want to take a look at the top 6 here, because obviously the Jets don't have a second-round pick, so I don't want to go too far into the late first-round guys or the second-round guys, because I don't think we're going to be in that position. But we could talk about them at a later point if we end up getting a second-round pick. But I'm going to pull up the top 6 that I believe. This isn't my rankings. I'll give you guys my rankings at the end as far as how I would put these guys in my draft order. But we'll go through them, see what their stats were. Joe Alt and Amarius Mims are two freakishly big humans at 6'9" and 6'8". Everyone else rounds out the board 6'5", 6'6", 6'7". Across the board, no issues in terms of heights from anything that I'm seeing of these top 6 guys. In terms of weights, it's actually impressive how slim Joe Alt is at 6'9", 321 pounds, former tight end. And he can move too. We'll get to his 40 in just a second. But what I was really happy to see was J.C. Latham, a lot lighter than I was expecting him to weigh in at. I thought he was going to be closer to that Mekhi Becton weight that everyone's been talking about, 360, 370 type pounds. 340 pounds here is looking pretty good for J.C. Latham. And then Amarius Mims, obviously the other big guy on this board. In terms of 40 times, Joe Alt and Amarius Mims hustling at their big sizes is nothing short of impressive. Fashanu didn't get the opportunity to run his second 40. He pulled up with a hamstring injury during his first 40-yard attempt, and I guess J.C. Latham did not run it. As far as the wingspan goes, wingspan was interesting. Now, obviously, Mims and Latham are just going to be monsters here. They're going to have all the metrics that we're going to be taking a look at. But Fuaga is one you want to see. You see that 80-inch wingspan, and that's because he has the smallest arms of the top 6 tackles. Now, 34 inches is generally where you would like to see the top tackles be in terms of arm length. You got guys like AVT who have come out under that 34-inch mark, but he was projected more as a guard at that point. And maybe this is going to, sort of bring Fuaga into that type of conversation, but it's not that much smaller. So, I don't think you're going to be super, super beat up about it. Amarius Mims, again, with a 3-inch longer arm in total over Fuaga, which means he's got 6 inches from wingtip to wingtip difference, which that definitely makes a difference when you dial it all in. As far as hand size goes, I was shocked to see just how small Olu Fashanu's hands are. Kenny Pickett's hands are deemed really tiny, and Fashanu's are smaller than that. He's at 8.4 inches. I think Kenny Pickett was 8.5. But yeah, look, Mims and Latham, again, coming in over that 11-inch mark. Everyone else seems fine, but it's just Fashanu is so much smaller than everyone else. Does this impact his grading at all? I mean, I would imagine it probably knocks him squarely out of the number 1 offensive tackle spot, but I think Alt was always going to be the top guy that we were sort of looking at here. But does that impact Fashanu in terms of other people's rankings of him? Would you still take him as maybe the 2nd overall tackle? We'll have to get into that. Now, I mentioned it, as far as impressive stats go, Latham and Mims, I thought very much impressed with their metrics. If Mims had more starts under his belt or didn't get injured in college, he'd probably be significantly higher on more people's boards. And I think Latham maybe put aside some of the comparisons to a Mekhi Becton, at least in Jet fans' minds, with the way he tested today. As far as concerns, I do want to point out, obviously, Olu Fashanu and Fuaga as the metrics in their hand size and in their wingspan maybe a little less desirable. As far as my big boards go, I want to talk to you guys about my overall rankings here. Now, obviously, I would take any one of these tackles. I'm actually in favor of a trade down in some capacity, depending on how this board breaks and falls to us down at number 10. If we still have, let's say Joe Alt's off the board, but the rest of them are still there, I would definitely consider moving down, because I think you can get a really good offensive tackle in this class, and it doesn't have to be taken at number 1 overall, or not number 1 overall, but as high as it is. Tyler Guyton comes in at number 6. Now, obviously, just not a lot of starts under his belt. His size metrics all kind of check out. He blew up the Senior Bowl as well. I think he's going to continue to rise on people's boards. It wouldn't shock me if he went higher than more people are deeming him right now. I'm putting Amarius Mims at number 5. Now, if he had more snaps, if someone wanted to put him at number 2 or number 3 on their list, I really would not be upset with this because I think Mims is like so exciting. I had him in my top 5 players to watch for the New York Jets, particularly in a trade down scenario because of the lack of starts that we saw from him. But I would be very excited if the Jets got him. I just don't know if there's going to be a rawness to these two particular players that may impede the Jets' need, or maybe not need, but maybe want to draft one of those guys. Like if you think one of these other tackles are going to come in and be more pro ready immediately, maybe you go with one of them over the projected upside. Like Guyton and Mims may be the 2 best offensive tackles in this class when it's all said and done. But, you know, they are a little bit raw due to their amount of playing time. I've got Talise Funga here coming in at number 4 for me. Everyone's been talking about him to the New York Jets. Road grader on the right-hand side for the Oregon State Beavers. Yeah, look, I'd be pumped if the Jets got him. This is where it gets a little more dicey for me in terms of rankings. It can go any sort of which way here. The Amarius Mims and Guyton ones picks would be a little probably more trade down-esque. Number 3, I've got Olu Fashanu. So this is switching up my rankings if you guys have been paying attention to some of my stuff that I've been talking about the last few 2 months or so. Olu Fashanu is going to come in here. The smaller hands, you know, a little bit of a concern to some degree. And if you still need a left tackle, I don't think I would be upset with taking Olu Fashanu over some other player in this class. And then that's going to move J.C. Latham into the number 2 spot. Because of his size and just how strong he is, playing for one of the best schools in the country, not having the weight issue that I think a lot of people thought he was going to have, pretty impressive here. And then obviously number 1 overall is going to be everyone's pick, and that's going to be Joe Alt at the top of this draft. If there's some way for the Jets to come away with Joe Alt, I would be all sorts of excited. And I don't think there's a way for us to really trade up to get him because I just don't know if the Jets have the draft capital that could get us up that high. We have heard rumors of the Cardinals, the Chargers, the Titans, all 3 teams that could in some way, you know, use an offensive tackle, possibly trade down. Now, I would love to see those teams move out for teams that want quarterbacks, and then they maybe fall back to 11 or 12 or 13 or 14, somewhere back that way. Maybe that means Joe Alt winds up falling. Now, something I did hear at the Combine that was very interesting was that the defensive line coach for the Chargers used to be the D-line coach for the Notre Dame Fighting Irish, and a few years ago said Joe Alt is going to be a number 1 pick or a very high first-round pick, and lo and behold, he winds up going over to the Chargers, and the Chargers have the number 5 overall pick. Are they going to go with the Bowers, or are they going to go with an Odunze or a Neighbors or something like that top of the draft? Or do they try to protect Herbert and run on the ground with some really beefy offensive linemen? I find it very hard to believe that Joe Alt winds up falling to the New York Jets, especially after the Combine and metrics that he wound up putting up. Guys, I want to hear from you. What do you think about my rankings, my top 6? Would you position them any sort of differently? Is there some metric that you saw during the Combine that you really don't like or that you did really like? Let me know your rankings down below. Are there other guys that I didn't include on my list that you think should be higher up on the list that the Jets should consider? Are you in favor of trading down? Do you want to stay at number 10 and make the best possible selection? Let me know in the comment section down below. And as always, go Jets. Thank you guys so much for hitting the like and subscribe button on these videos. It goes a long way towards growing the channel. And then occasionally I get sponsors like this. So if you want to help support the sponsor of the channel, or maybe just get yourself some cool gear or some good discounts, you can click the link in the description down below. Today's sponsor, 𝐶rescent is going to give you 25% off your order using promo code JetsTalk. Link in the description down below. They've got gummies, THC syrup, THC seltzers. I just discovered these things. They are incredible. As someone who has been trying to cut down a little bit of their alcohol consumption and not, maybe feel as crummy the next day, this has been a godsend for me. Keep me nice and calm, cool, and collected, especially with all the hurdles that our Jets throw our way and all the headaches that we got to deal with as fans. So if you guys want to help support the channel, maybe get yourself a little bit of a discount as well. Support the sponsors of the channel, 𝐶rescent. Thank you so much for watching the show.